Hey, I don't know what happened there. My internet connected. It disconnected. I don't know what happened. I'm really sorry about that. I don't know what happened. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm just going to go check on something real quick. All right, I'm back. Yeah, I was just making sure there was nothing weird going on with the internet. I don't know what happened, but YouTube decided to have an absolute tantrum. So, let's do this. We've got a couple of requests. Apologies for any inconvenience, by the way. We have got Superfly Lee as well as Jacob Good. And I'm hoping people aren't upset because the livestream quit when they put a request through, because there's nothing I can really do about that. Let's do it though. Okay, Superfly Lee. What does Superfly Lee have for us today? Oh, cool, sweet. Thanks for your request. Here we go. And then yeah, there's 2 in the queue. There we are. And then apparently this track from Superfly Lee, it's a song, it's a cover of Diary Jane by Breaking Benjamin, apparently. So that's cool. We'll have a listen through that and see how we go. Permissioned Souls, Diary Jane. Thank you to Superfly Lee for this. Whenever it decides to load. Because apparently they're a family band, a cover band from the Philippines, which is kind of wild. A 10-year-old on the drums? That's wild, man. That little guy, that drummer is an absolute machine. He's going to be an absolute monster when he grows up. And the mixing is actually pretty good as well. No, they harmonize quite well. Oh, now you cover lead guitar duties. That's kind of dope. I'm wondering if he's using the rim on his, like, drums. Like, did you see him hitting his little kind of like high tom or low tom there? And it was making a bell sound. I could be tripping, but yeah, that's crazy, man. And he does sticks as well. Nice. No, it was really impressive. Mission Souls, man. I'm just gonna like quickly just check out something, okay? How can I get the song? I cannot find it online on Shazam, Apple, or Google. I love the film, the person who waves the skywing thing. I'm just checking out who's commenting and stuff. We were offline, yeah. No, Jacob, we are online. We are continuing with this live stream. Tighter than some adult bands, absolutely. So this was a cover of Breaking Benjamin's track, Diary of Jane, from a family band cover of Mission Souls, and they did tremendously well. Honestly, like, I wasn't even listening to the lyrics of the track. The Diary of Jane, I'm gonna just take a quick look through the lyrics, 'cause I feel bad about it. I was more focusing of Diary of Jane. I was more vibing along to the track itself. The way they were playing it and everything like that, you know? Okay, there we go. Right, I get it. Okay, I figured it out. I just need a bit of a reminder. So basically, I think this track is about someone who is trying to get into that person's diary, that person's life any way possible, and they're really struggling with it. It's a really difficult time for them to be able to do that. They're trying to make the most of the situation they're in, but they're realizing at the end there is no love, and that maybe it's all just been a waste of time, which is incredibly sad, but that's honestly how a lot of situations like that roll. So and not less unhealthy situations, you know, relationship wise or whatever. But or especially if you're kind of like simping for someone. But the vocals were great. Vocals were great. But Stacey did main vocals, rhythm guitar, lead guitar, and they're 11. They're going to be an absolute. All these kids in this band are going to be monsters by the time they are older. And it wilds me out because, on one hand, I'm like, I feel like there's a lot of pressure in these certain situations for these kids to just continue to do this kind of content. Depending on the situation, I hope it's a fun kind of environment they've got here, because it would make me really sad if they were in any way being forced to do this. Like, as in, like, this was like the way of them making money or something like that. But I think it's a genuine, just they enjoy it thing, which is great. So the vocals are handled really well. We also had backing vocals from Nisha. So Stacey and Nisha both had the vocal thing was solid. We were singing the notes and melodies we needed to do, and they niched well with what we're trying to do there. And I think especially in a different key arranged potentially for their vocal ranges as well handled. Yeah, the kids have offshoot bands themselves. That doesn't surprise me. By the way, Superfly Leo, absolutely welcome. Thank you for the request. So I think the vocals were handled well. The guitar parts were played well as well. The natural harmonics, the chugs, the tones of the instruments were great. The different riffs transferred neatly through one another. We had a great sense of rhythm with our parts, and we niched the lead and rhythm parts on top of each other nicely, especially in that kind of interlude section towards the last third of the track there, with that little solo part there. They played that neatly. The bass parts were tight, no issues with the bass at all. Really solid performance here, and the drums. The drums were pretty good for the most part, but I am incredibly like lenient on it because they're 10, and 10-year-olds who can drum like that are rare, and they're very good. And they're trying to do a lot of really cool stuff on the kit there, and they're basically playing what is in the song. And I want you guys to understand that even if I say it's not a perfect performance on the drums, it's with the understanding that if when they get to an age like 18 or whatever, when they can go play in bars or whatever, or like any like live shows and venues and stuff, they're going to be absolutely unstoppable All the musicians in this band are going to be unstoppable when they get older, and they're already doing pretty damn well at the moment. So all the best to them. Tight performance instrumentally all around. There's a lot of sadness in this track, which makes sense. In the verses there and in interludes and stuff like that. An interesting sort of majorish tone in the interlude, like a major parallel where we kind of like lift ourselves up, realizing maybe it's a good thing that we realize how kind of screwed we are. Yeah, it's cool. It's dope. I mean, like, I work with kids as like a teacher, and some of the kids I work with are just absolutely just wild. Like, young kids and teenagers can be amazing musicians. It just depends on how you motivate them and what they and how they learn, and just trying to find that kind of relativity there. But anyways, yep, solid track there. The overall motif was sad, but there was a bit of hope in the chorus sections with some of the glory and like kind of glow of the chords in the mid range. It's just that it seems like it was misplaced. And mixing and mastering, the most part was great. It sounded like a live performance. They were tight. Enjoyed it. Well done. Thank you super politely for that. That was Diary of Jane from a cover of the song by Breaking Benjamin from Mission Souls. So that track is completed. What do we have next? Do we have other songs to review today? From Jaden. From Jacob Good. There are actually 4 in the queue, so there's a few to do, but we'll get through all of them today, I think. Jacob Good. Thank you, Jacob, for your request. I've also learned as a teacher that you need to be careful with how you give feedback to kids and teenagers. They don't typically want to be treated like kids. You got to try and find a way to communicate by clearly not giving them the same responsibility or whatever as an adult, but like making them not feel like they're being patronized. And I just feel like that there's a balance there when you're teaching people or mentoring people and stuff like that. You got to kind of strike. Because if you just say no, you're good, even if they're not, like young kids, they figure it out and they're not stupid. It's just about finding a balance, but it's very good. We got this track from Jacob Good though, from Olivia Rodrigo, titled "Vampire." So this should be nice. I do kind of like Olivia Rodrigo's stuff, kind of.
Hate to give the satisfaction asking how you're doing now. How's the castle built of people you pretend to care about? Just what you wanted. Look at you, cool guy, you got it. I see the parties and diamonds. Sometimes when I close my eyes, 6 months of torture you sold to some forbidden paradise. I loved you truly. You gotta laugh at the stupidity, 'cause I've made some real big mistakes, but you make the worst.
Sup, Shinida? Welcome to the live stream.
Should've known it was strange. You only come out at night. I used to think I was smart, but you made me look so naive. The way you sold me for parts.
That build was satisfying. That was incredibly powerful there. I do appreciate that a lot. Jacob, this is a banger, man. This is a very different angle to what I've heard from Olivia. Apparently they were 19 when they wrote this, and that blows my mind. I'm not entirely sure how they must have had to grow up really quickly.
Every girl I ever talked to told me you were bad news. You called them crazy. God, I hate the way I called them crazy too. You're so convincing. How do you lie without flinching? Oh, what a mesmerizing, paralyzing, fucked up little thrill. Can't figure out just how you do it, and God knows I never will. And for me and not her, 'cause girls your age know better. I've made some real big mistakes, but you make the worst one look fine. I should have known it was strange. You only come out at night. I used to think I was smart, but you made me look so naive. The way you sold me for parts. goddamn
And how things just come down on that are fantastic.
You said it was true love, but wouldn't that be hard? You can't love anyone, 'cause that would mean you had a heart. I
Hi,
tried to
Judith.
help
Welcome
you
to the live
out,
stream.
now I know that I can't, 'cause how you think's the kind of thing I'll never understand. I made some real big mistakes, but you make the worst one look fine. I should have known it was strange. You only come out at night. I used to think I was smart, but you made me look so naive. The way you sold me for parts as you sunk your teeth into me. I'm a light sucker, fame fucker, bleeding me dry like a goddamn vampire.
So I feel like, Olivia Rodrigo with Vampire, it's fairly easy to figure out what this is about. It's about, despite the warnings you receive from other people and invariably getting involved with someone who just absolutely just sucks the life out of you. They just completely destroy you and they take advantage of you and you fall for it. And I'm pretty sure, I mean, I can personally relate to having fallen for people like that. I'm sure other people who listen to this can too. It part of why this music is so quote unquote relatable is because we're discussing stuff that people go through. And it's not in the kind of vague it's not in a vague sense where it's like, oh, the love that we feel is this. So, like, how do I describe it? But by being more sort of like direct about their own personal experience without giving too much away, which is a wonderful balance we have here, we're also giving enough sort of like depth that like we can more viscerally link it to our own experiences potentially. And that makes it feel like we're heard in a weird kind of screwed up sense. And I think the beauty of Olivia Rodrigo at this point in time is they haven't really given anyone a reason to necessarily think they're like superficial or disingenuous with their intent. So it makes it kind of endearing, I suppose. And again, I haven't always liked Olivia Rodrigo's stuff, but I am appreciating as they grow as a musician, as a person, the music they're putting out. I think it's starting to get really intriguing. The vocals were fantastic. Really fantastic. I like the drama as Jacob mentioned, the drama she does in the dynamics from the volume and the hook. Absolutely tremendous. It's also the bit of fragility when vulnerability when things come down there. We're really we're putting so much effort into expressing ourselves in a way that is meaningful for the words to really sell the story, and we do that. And coupled with really phenomenal vocal technique, especially how we kind of build or lift ourselves up in the last parts of the hook before that bloodsucker fame fucker part. It's just really awesome. There are some wonderful backing vocals on the sides for that second verse, which aren't there in the first, which is just intrinsic variety within the composition. And when you put the vocals on the back burner, which is a difficult thing to do because they're clearly the focal point of the mix, you have what effectively amounts to like drum space, piano with some guitar parts later on there. And it's kind of minimalist, but with some vocal kind of pad-like kind of harmony parts happening in the chorus to build things up. That's part of what kind of makes it magical, is that the vocals are doing all the different roles, they're even instruments as well as a storytelling device. And so you have the drums with more of a simple group, but there is variety within those different rhythms with the percussion. The bass line, a depth there that we haven't quite reached, but it's something we're sitting in at the moment because of the difficulties we're struggling with. Piano parts there, not too bright or cheery. If there is any brightness, it's the vocals figuring out what they've done in the situation, and that kind of clarity there is probably the only real positive part of the track. How much of a fame fucker that person was. It's a really well written piece of music there with variety. It develops throughout. It's almost got a ballad-like format there, but it keeps a lot of what makes contemporary music quite special, and it's really well produced as well with a theme that goes through some chromatic shifts and doesn't just rely on major and minor keys, and the vocals are nice and clear in the mix. They clearly sing with some interesting reverb and vocal effects and filtering to kind of make them stand in and out. Music surrounds you in the headphones. There's dynamic range to this. Things aren't the same loudness all the time. And ultimately, just, yeah, a really satisfying track, which shows a lot of maturity there. I feel bad that Olivia Rodrigo has had to grow up this quickly, but they've had to because they're just so damn successful. So thank you to Jacob Good for this track, for requesting this track from an ex named Olivia Rodrigo titled Vampire. It's dope. Really awesome track. I like it a lot. What do we have next? Shenyida says, I just got off work and have to go home. Well, Shenyida, if you're watching this, just letting you know that I've done your Patreon video today, your Patreon one. So you should be getting your Patreon video today. Okay? So that'll be coming through to you later today. So you better watch that. And hopefully YouTube will have it online and there won't be any issues with subtitles and it'll be all good. But that was Jacob's one there. I'm going to probably need to use the bathroom really quickly there. Yeah, I'll be right back. I'm just going to use the bathroom real quick and then we'll be good to go. Okay. Get out. Hello, I'm back. I don't know if you heard me before. I was having an argument with my cat about whether they would stay in the room or not whilst I was recording. They are mischief makers and they distract and make noises in the room whilst I'm recording, so not quite at this point in time with that. But we've got another track from Rufo. Here we go. I love Nushka, but she can be a nuisance sometimes. She will probably feature on a stream at some point, though. But this is the next track from Rufo. So, this is from Black Myth Wukong. Rufo. There we go. Thanks for your... I can't see anything, man. I can't see shit. Rufo? Dude, I put like a thing there, right? There we go. Awesome. This is Black Myth Wukong by Jie and Violet. Love some listen not. Okay, let's do it. I have heard this before. I have played the game.
初见的角落，
月光在西边的城楼。
It's a beautiful track, though.
是眉间的腰，
愿年年望相思，寻常最长久。
汹涌如潮流，
忐忑似轻舟，有你相伴这一路，多么多么自由。
And they harmonize with the strings is gorgeous, man.
云卷
云舒
风起，
一种
从立春到立秋。
在那一刻，我爱上你的所有。忘了是心田的狗，
吉他是老套的酒，
指引是相拥无言。
愿天黑画到你，总会说不够。
He just wants to be a part of it.
喧闹如潮流，
宁静似清潮，
有你相伴这一路，多么多么无忧。
玩耍
朝露
昙花，
苍狗，
黑
也
夜
不过白昼。
听错了风，又怎么会有以后？
飘摇似轻舟，
清凉如蒸馏，
你若放手这一路，可怜我
爱多久？欢喜
或真爱中绽放，或者不是，永远无分下一世莫回眸。
真情
满流
假意
未够，
相说，
今生有求，
下一世相遇，
情节再会。
It was so beautiful, man. That was. I feel like a lot of the power of that track in that music video is going to come from playing the game. It's such a rough chapter. It's such a rough chapter, man. I think that this song, if I'm not mistaken, from Black Myth Wukong, the Bajier and Violet Spider love song, Listen Not. It's about like a forbidden love between two people. They want to be with each other, but they can't. And they're looking back on that relationship and what they've heard and what they know. And they've taken different conclusions about how things should have been approached and stuff like that. And it's so difficult to listen to because it should be something that's so easy. People should just be able to love each other, right? But just stuff gets in the way and life gets complicated and things become difficult. And it's really just really sad. I to be fair, I think some of that I was like really struggling not to cry. So I was like, it was difficult for me to like focus on some of like the story elements. And honestly, I look at the animation, and the animation in that music video is just absolutely sublime. By the way, welcome Paul7931 to the live stream. But it's so beautiful. The vocal performance is absolutely stellar. Like both singers involved can sing incredibly well. They tell their stories from different perspectives, and they come together and they harmonize. And even though they don't necessarily agree with each other at the end, they just sound so gorgeous together. And there's just such intimacy and chemistry involved as well that it's just so believable. It's so sweet. It's like an old school, like classical. It's like a old school arrangement with like the strings and the piano. And it's like there's a sense of sweetness in part due to the glorious tone of the keys there, how pretty they sound, and how illustrious the tone is, and the chord progressions, and the twinkles and the charms, and the free flowing sort of almost like they're dancing through their love, that initial chase and getting together and realizing they can't be together anymore, etc. That kind of forbidden romance kind of stuff. They're dancing through that. And you go through their entire tale where they inevitably forget about it when they wake up and follow Wukong, as I understand it. And it's just brutal. It's just so brutal. But the Violet Spider never forgets. And it's like they managed to communicate that complexity of that situation through the extended chords and the harmonies there. The strings clearly have weight as well. And the way that the strings are sometimes by themselves, providing a sense of added sort of legato, long form harmony and sort of like atmosphere and the sides, but then they also occasionally unison. Um, the strings they kind of so hard to get the words out sometimes, you know? Uh, it's just the strings when they dance with the vocals are so pretty. And it's just such a massive track because despite how minimalism the instrumental layers are, they are so incredibly effective and there's so much variety with them and it's through composed. And you just have this familiarity and sense of pace there. It's dynamic, and its dynamic range is not the same loudness all the time either. So it feels like it's full of life and it's like a live performance. And the studio production is stellar and it's just flawless. And the singers can sing really well with proper vocal technique there. And it's just it's a huge. It's like it just sounds like a classic. Like it sounds like a Disney theme song or something like that. Like something from like the early like 20th century there. I don't know how to describe the genre it is. But it's just absolutely incredible. It's just a classic. It's a ballad, I assume, but I don't know how else to describe it. Anyways, I feel like I don't know. I feel like I haven't done it as well as I wanted to with reviewing this. It's a flawless piece of music that highlights the strengths of the intimacy of the situation and the story there. The vocals are absolutely just slamming it. Both singers are tremendous and have great chemistry with one another. The track is through composed, and the piano and strings are both sort of like they perform to their strengths and niche well with the vocal performances and are a great ground bed for those. And the studio recording, mixing, mastering, the production is tight. And there's like it's so bittersweet at the end with how it concludes with the resolution on the seventh there or something like that. Almost like we're not sure if the story is over yet. And that kind of makes sense because of the disagreement with how they see the situation at the end. So I love it to pieces. Um, yeah, Judith and Rufo, I feel you too. It's just hard, but that's why it's important to play these video games because it's part of the human experience is being able to feel these things and you know we just got to appreciate that it was that affecting of an experience because we don't always get that with video games. I'd rather feel sad because of a video game like this in this way than play a game and not feel anything at all. But thank you, Rufo, for that request for that track from Black Myth Wukong. I have finished Black Myth Wukong now. Like I've finished it and I adored it. So this next track though is from Aqua 24. Yeah, I'll compose myself a little bit now. That was very intense. This is a track from Angela Zhang, apparently, titled I'm not sure what it's titled. We can Google that. I don't know how to find this. We're gonna see if we can find it on Google. Is it this one here? Come on, man. But thank you, Aqua24, for this request. I'm hoping this is it. Great start with the keys, though.
什么时候开始，我跟他之间已经有30公分的距离。
好想念自由的味道。什么时候开始？
Would you prefer? I mean, we can find it on Spotify for sure. I mean, I think I've found it though.
他变那么黏人。
真的好寂寞。
我努力地仰着脸孔，试着让眼泪不往下流，别往下流。不安地感觉到什么，在我生活中不再相同，不相同。想要说，却还沉默，伸出手，无法触碰。
The quality is bad. Okay, all right. We'll find it on here. We'll find it on here. I mean, I don't personally mind the quality, but I understand it's important to some people. Oh, okay, it's fine. Okay, cool. We'll keep at it. Like, I grew up with YouTube through the time where it was like 360p. I'm an audio engineer. I understand the artifacting that's going on. I look past it. But thank you, I appreciate that.
原来你是真的已经离开我，在我不熟悉的世界过新的生活，闭上眼让泪水滑落，此刻你真的永远离开我，在另外一个没有我的世界。
I mean, the interesting transition between those different piano parts.
一个奇异少女为了爱想成为厨师的故事吗？爱一个人到底是幸福还是不幸福？
喂，
你在哪里？
我跟大毛在一起，
那我呢？
你就不能独立一点吗？
And that Beltry transition's dope. Nice.
仰着脸孔，试着让眼泪不往下流，别往下流。不安地感觉到什么，在我生活中不再相同，很不相同。
And that major lift in the bridge is dope though. I like that.
伸出手，无法触碰。天空突然一片辽阔，原来你是真的已经离开我，在我不熟悉的世界过新的生活。 闭上眼，让泪水滑落。此刻你真的永远离开我，在另外一个没有我的世界，自由地走。
This is a great belt.
天空突然一片辽阔，原来你是真的。 熟悉的世界，过新的生活。
分手吧。
让泪水滑落，此刻你真的永远离开我，在另
Interesting use of synth at the end. This was an intriguing performance. Ah, the piano, bell trees, and so much guitar at the end? Alright, so this was Angela Zhang with a track titled Truly. Now, what do I think this song is about? I think it's about thinking you're in love with someone. Well, I mean, to be fair, we got provided with some lyrics through Aqua24 again. Thank you for that. One of my favorite classics from... Oh, really? You translated it for me? Really? No. There we go. Really? I've just found that. Thank you. So it was titled Really. Thank you, Aqua24. One of my favorite classics from Angela. The song describes the feeling after breakup, singing she actually did leave me. Yeah. Okay, so it's about realizing someone has actually left and you've actually just got to cope with the fact that they are gone now. And like you might be in that phase after the initial breakup where you're like, oh, things will repair themselves, it can get better, and it just does it just doesn't at that point, not in that respect. But I think it's sung really well. You mentioned Emin in one. I found her singing while lying on the piano, a pretty iconic scene. Yeah, it just seems like you're just kind of like, oh man, you just kind of don't have the energy to get up. You're just kind of like taken aback by this. You're just kind of floored by it, by that realization there. That's how I sort of interpret that. We're just kind of relying on our music to sort of communicate how we feel about it and to kind of get that out there. I think it's a really well-handled vocal performance there. We navigate the minor keys and the verses and the sort of the lifts in the bridge and then the major stuff going on in the chorus pretty well. Almost like we're kind of elaborating on the fact that we feel not particularly happy about the situation, but in the choruses we understand, hey, even though this is kind of a crappy situation, the net of this, the outcome is going to be overall positive, and we just need to get past this bit in order to find a better future potentially. Even if we're broken up, it's for the best. So you then what you do is you go past that and you look at the track and how it's constructed, and I'm actually really impressed with it. At 4 minutes 36, it's a really elaborate ballad format there, comprised of pianos and basses and drums and strings and bell trees and little synthy bits at the end, and all sorts of fun quirky movements there, and they all perform different functions. The piano part clearly sort of forming the basis, the foundation of the harmonies in the mid to high, and as well as in a low range there for a little bit, although the bass guitars kind of do that a bit better later on. But yeah, it's really, just go back to the start of the track there and kind of feel out the intro part of it. You have strings pretty much immediately, if not like very soon after, and the strings are very much like a pad-like effect that contrasts with the pianissimo kind of dynamic going on with the keys, and you get this kind of sadness immediately communicated by that, just because of the way the strings sound there. We're working with those major and minor triads here, but predominantly minors, and the keys there, they get a bit more kind of intense later on as the music builds up in intensity, because this track does get bigger and develops over time. You have the keys articulating themselves really neatly alongside the drums. The drums in this track are phenomenal. There's a wide variety of different grooves there. They get more intense as they go along, but I like the different break beats, not break beats. Like they just kind of have crashes in different parts that aren't just like the first beat of the different bars and stuff like that. We have interesting fill transitions as well there. There are more of those as we go along. And when you basically, as you build these different ingredients up, it just kind of rises into a fervor that, you know, you mentioned the piano melody gives an uneasy vibe, like something is not going right in the relationship. You inevitably get that quiet kind of like discomfort that rises into, again, that end part where it's like, yeah, no, it's just over, it's done. You know, things aren't what they seem, but we've moved on now. And I think that it's great how the music sort of tries to work alongside the story to do that. It just makes compositional sense. The theme itself, as I mentioned, it invokes a sense of being like sadness, but also being happy that it's finished, in a sense that we've just finally over. We've just gotten to that end point. The studio recording, mixing, and mastering is tight. Great sort of like balancing to the vocals, strings, keys, bass, drums, and all that kind of stuff there. The synth at the end was a bit quirky. I'm not sure why that was there, but it was, and it's totally fine. And yeah, ultimately, really great impression of Angela Zhang. They're a great singer. Solid vocal technique, very present throughout the whole entirety of the time, and they emoted the different vibes of the different sections really neatly. So yeah, thank you very much to Aqua24 for that request of this track from an act named Angela Zhang titled Really. That was cool. So yeah, I understand why you like it. It's like one of the better fleshed out ballads I've heard in a little while. We have Jaden next though. Jaden, welcome to the live stream. I'm not sure if you're here now, but I appreciate you coming along. Request. And what does Jaden have for us today? Jaden, really need to do this more sort of like linearly. David Tao, A Big Miss on Spotify. So thank you, Jaden. We are going to listen to this on Spotify. And thank you for specifying the specificity about Spotify. Let's do it. A Big Miss by David Tao. So this is a gentle reminder, we'll be listening to 5 minutes of this, but I look forward to doing so. Those kind of... It was a really interesting atmosphere to the start there. I wasn't necessarily sure how to take it with this kind of whistly string parts, but nonetheless, it's cool. And you're welcome, Jaden. A Big Miss by David Tao. How many different chord progressions do we have in this? Sorry, I just needed to pause there. My screen's being a bit weird. I'm not sure what's going on. I was flashing black and white. I love the backing vocals, though the choir behind it is such a cool concept. Kind of gives me a bit of an Opeth vibe, to be honest, which is very unusual because it's very different. Oh, that groove to the guitar and bass in that part though, man, down. Come on, man. Here we go. That was David Towers, A Big Mess. We listened to the 5-minute mark and a little bit more because I wanted to hear that scream go out. This is probably one of my favorite David Towers tracks by far. Like, legit. I enjoyed this a lot. Paul7931 said, this is David Towers' most underrated album, which contains many rock songs. I would like to review this one. If we haven't already, I would like to review it. I would potentially even like to live stream review it. That would be fun. This track, this song, I'm not sure what it's about apart from Big Mess. It's one of the most visceral experiences I've had listening to a David Towers track, especially that scream at the end. He expresses himself so candidly in this. The melodies, they match so well with what's going on in the rest of the arrangement. His vocal technique suits rock music incredibly well. There's bits of fry there. There's strain, there's angst, there's a lot of intense stuff going on there, and he manages to nail it in a way which is very believable and suits the theme of it. I love the backing vocals in the choir in the background. I thought that was actually really, really super dope as well. It was a nice twist. Unexpected there. Going in a higher range than him and the sides really was a phenomenal call and response there. It was a great sort of like back and forth. The track at 5 minutes to 37 is really well fleshed out. We had a really sort of surreal kind of intro section there where it's just him just kind of singing melodies, but you have like guitars and little ride parts and bass and all this kind of thing, setting up this really intriguing aesthetic, almost like it's explaining the big mess that we have before we get into too much context. And we had this kind of weird kind of that kind of sound. I don't know if I necessarily like that, but that was what I was trying to sort of like talk about initially. That I was sort of like unsure about that, but I like the different guitar takes and everything like that. It almost sounded like there was a fight because of like the kind of like swords clashing or something like that. Either way, I mean, I thought it was really well fleshed out structurally. There were verses and chorus sections there. I didn't even necessarily mind the repeat of the chorus at the end. I would have preferred a lead guitar solo or something over that, but I feel like that's been done on a lot of different songs, and also David Towers wanted to sort of like stay with his vocals for that one and had that variation of a long scream at the end. It's him sort of getting his message out for a final time to get it stuck in your head, and very effective. It's like he's feeling it, no words but full of life. Yeah, absolutely. He's just feeling his track, and that's a vital, integral part of the musical experience is being able to feel music and just sort of sit with it and just let it sort of be effervescent here. And I think that's when some of the best music comes, is when you don't overthink it and you're not trying to create something specific. You're sort of more trying to allow the music to have its own identity and sort of accepting that. Might not be the best commercially, but like it's the best for your soul as a musician, I find. Really well handled in regards to the actual instrument performances as well. Lovingly crafted in regards to the various sort of guitar, bass, drum patterns there. It's not just the vocals that handled well. There were lots of different strum parts, acoustic guitarists, a bit of distortion with the power chords and everything like that. Maybe some lead elements there that I missed, but like predominantly it was more sort of like focused on the vocals being the vocal lead, and the bass line underneath there, nice and strong and sort of like pulling you through and kind of a bit of kind of like sass to it as well. There was some interesting use in between guitar and bass in regards to like some of the riffs in like the last part of the track there. It was like a groove there, that riff there, that transfer was slick. And the drums as well, lots of different sort of ideas there, from the cymbal, the kick and snare patterns all the way through like the fill sections. And just we explored the drum kit. We didn't allow ourselves to be sort of limited by the kit, and we what the expectations might have been for sort of like pocketing and stuff like that. We had just a full sounding track there that never felt like it was missing anything. There was no filler, and the theme overall, like there were different sort of major and minor leanings, but predominantly it was based on like a feeling of this is a huge mess, and I'm just trying to sort of figure it out. And I know things are bad at the moment. I don't know if they'll improved, but I'm just going to continue just putting one step before the other and trying to get it through regardless. That's how I felt. Had like an overall sort of from different chord progressions and ideas and concepts we had there musically. Studio production wise, absolutely stellar, really well handled, lots of love for it. Well done to David Tao. Yeah, I wouldn't mind listening to this album in my own time. I think that'd be a lot of fun. But thank you, Jaden. I appreciate you putting that forward. It's really cool music. Having a quick look. I was just having a listen through in case I missed anything. I was like, I always worry like that when I like a track is sort of, I worry that I forget stuff. What I like about Spotify is that it doesn't look sort of chaotic when you're going through a track and kind of sort of figuring out. I'll be right back again. Oh, nope, that's it. That needs to be replaced. We'll replace the battery now as well. Here we are. And we'll get that sussed. I don't know why that's there. It shouldn't be there. Am I all good, big? Kind of. Yeah, it'll do. Cool. All right. So, what is the next song, though, after that track from David Tao? It is a song from Paul7931. Thank you, Paul. What have we got from you today, dude? Here we go. It is a song titled Mandarin Echo. 7931. Let's find it. It is on YouTube. Let's go. Boom. Super phased. Eventually. It'll be fast. Mandarin. Mandarin. The emphasis on that snare though, with those ghost notes and hi-hats, man, is just awesome. the Strymon on that guitar is just superb, man. And even the groove with the shakers, though, is sublime. I use the delays as well, my vocal take. How are we harmonizing that? Best in the tone of the guitar as well. I mean, like, it's incredibly jazzy with that solo near the end, right? Just use chromaticisms there, modal transportations. It's fascinating. Can you get like a transcript, a copy of the transcript for it? Yay, yay, awesome, cool. I've just realized I can do this. Light submerges me, your mood is mixed with my mood, turning into gray, so I saw the echo. Okay. Okay, basically, so I assume that mood is like the echoes of each other coming together. This is from an act named the big band, or Echo stage from Mandarin. Mandarin titled Echo. What is the song about? I don't know, like, it's kind of confusing. I'm gonna go with Occam's razor, is that he's talking about how some moods inferred within this sort of overwhelmed each other, and the collective gathering of their two souls is creating some sort of echo that they're a part of there. And it's like that they're just being reminded that, I suppose, the echo of two reverberations coming into contact with one another. I'm not sure. Like, it's an interesting story anyways, I'll think about more later on, but the vocals being occasional, the words coming through occasionally, allow it to sort of sift into the ether after they're uttered. And it's like in this track, the vocals aren't necessarily a focal point. They're trying to be on the same level as everything else with the guitar, bass, drums, and keys. And I like that. I think that to kind of give a bit of context, with a singer who can clearly sing with a bit of with a lot of reverb on their voice, though the way it sort of shimmers and light and fades out like that is sublime, is fascinating and it's mysterious. And I think you put that on top of the work with the guitars there, with the very sort of intimate pick parts gradually growing with the way we're sort of like working with the different effects pedals and stuff like that, and creating sort of a chimey atmosphere. Then the way we strum chords and they kind of come in and out there with the reverbs and the chorus on them, going into a more sort of like intense solo section later on there, where we kind of ascend and we rise in that those scale shapes, and we modulate and we use chromaticisms there to make a really sort of wondrous, intense solo that dances across the complexities of the arrangement around them, with the keyboard kind of filling in later on there to sort of fulfill more of a harmonic purpose there, to be a ground bit behind that. But I like the fact that the keys come in a bit later on, that the guitar is allowed a chance to sort of shine in that higher end there. The build towards that is stunning. The drummer, with a mixture of different hi-hat and snare techniques there with goes and mains, was tremendous. And we had a fantastic sort of consistency with both the tempo of it. Like, we played really tightly in regards to just being an actual percussive rhythmic instrument, but also the fact that we allowed those sixteenths to sort of permeate in a way that wasn't sort of standoffish in regards to the other elements of the mix, didn't sort of detract too much with the busyness of that rhythm section, is tremendous. And it's one of those situations where we didn't overplay, but we definitely played. The bass line, bomb, 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 sort of permeates throughout, but in a way where it sort of creates that kind of anchor point for everything else to kind of lean on. And we have variations, I'm sure, in that bass line, but that riff is sort of almost iconic. And I just love the way that we understood that even if we had complicated elements in the arrangement, the composition, we needed to have sort of simpler parts in another and sort of balance those out so that the song is sort of more easy to follow. Ultimately, it's a track where the actual instrument performance itself is stellar. We communicate really well with we show great chemistry with each other. Like, the whole entire crowd was looking to the guitarist before, the whole entire band was looking to the guitarist before their solo section. And it just rose up to that and finished really cleanly. Studio production, recording, mixing, and mastering was tight. And it's just a really satisfying performance and a really intricate, wonderful composition that I think needs several listens to sort of really completely feel out. But I'm glad I had the opportunity to listen to it today. So thank you to Paul7931 for filling me in on that. I enjoyed that. Mandarin with their track Ikkyo. And that song is done. What do we have next? We have a song from Judith. And Judith says the opening and bridge just gave a little Radiohead vibe. Yeah, exactly. I would agree with that. I would agree with that completely. I think that's a wonderful thing, really. The last thing you want is for a song to sort of seem completely sort of like alien from anything else. And it's good to be able to relate it to other genres and other bands so that you don't need me to tell you this. I feel like it's a compliment when that occurs, that you can relate it to, because you can kind of maybe even understand where these guys get some of their inspirations from to an extent. This is from Judith. Thank you, Judith, for this one. Thanks for your request. And this is titled Juno Mac Reincarnated Desires. Lyrics is about a person's sexual fetish towards dolls or doll-like objects arising from the difficulty of interacting with real people. The MV made it look like it's about necrophilia, though, lol. Okay, well, good to know. We're going to listen to this now and feel it out and see how we go. Juno Mac, Reincarnated Desires. It almost immediately is a little bit kind of unsettling with the hands, though, right? Oh, the captions are kind of scuffed. That's okay.
神情如鐵石，從不累。難道你知我已哭，所以笑下去？這一張嘴，隨地老天荒，不下垂，不懂反應也好，不懂跑跳更好。誰想漫步，誰想步入雪土？誰稀罕一句你好？說話未及擁抱，聽不到控訴，不必懊惱，從沒有身軀比你更易抱。
It's a very cheery sounding track in the chorus sections anyways, right? I kind of think it belies betrays the video a little bit, the music better.
原諒我只顧自己，逼你作伴侶。仁慈在你並無恐懼。誰像你給我至少所向往樂趣？不妒忌誰，誰才是戀愛？ 更好，誰想漫步，誰想步入雪土？誰稀罕一句你好？說話未及擁抱，聽不到控訴，不必懊惱，從沒有身軀比你更易抱。也許因你不懂拍掌，不懂讚賞。 一吻是一吻，沒虛妄幻想，不會需要玫瑰，彼此都不會受傷。閒來為你灑一抹香水，夜一身暗香，跟血肉熏染後勾印味覺一樣，而愛也單純到會忘掉智商，生命未能人造，傾慕亦
Interesting use of phasing for that synth in the background.
無需念及前途。人所謂熱情流露，最終亦為一可不擔心變數，不必計數，沒有呼吸的你最易抱。
Oh, that's really creepy. Oh, that's really creepy. I don't know if I like that. Oh, yeah, no, that's uncomfortable. All right, well that was Juno Mech with their track Reincarnated Desires. What do I think the track is about? When as Judith mentioned, the lyrics are about a person's sexual fetish towards a doll. Or dolls or like objects arising from the difficulty of interacting with real people. The MV made it look like it's about necrophilia though. I think that this track is sung well in that regard. I think it's a really unique story. So it's cool that we're trying something different, and there's nothing wrong with approaching uncomfortable subjects. The vocals in this track are very cheery, almost like it's kind of whimsical what we're doing with these people and everything like that. I think that if you've been too on the nose about the subject matter and tried to be sort of like how are you going to talk about it? Are you saying I am proud of it, or it's just a day in the life of my sort of fetish with dolls, or I feel sad about it? So basically, you've just got to kind of take it at face value that the way we're singing with good vocal technique there, we comfortably harmonize with the rest of the elements in the mix and show good tenuous voice. We're simply sort of just trying to communicate that this is our life, this is what we do on a daily basis, and this is our sort of vibe. In that regard, it's sort of surreal, and I think it's intriguing because it's just unexpected. you know, you typically expect subject matter like this to be a bit darker, but we don't have that with this track. It's a very cheery sounding piece with organs and pianos and drums and bass, and it bounces, got like sort of a swing to it. It's kind of like old school, like mid 2000s R&B ish there, and I think that it's if we separate the subject matter and the vocals from it for a moment, I think it's a really palatable composition. I don't necessarily get a lot of character from it. It seems relatively constrained and sort of conservative in its approach to the composition. And I didn't necessarily hear anything in here that would allude to the kind of arguable depravity going on within this. But I think that's, again, potentially a juxtaposition that's intentional because of the subject matter and, and what we're talking about within this piece. It kind of makes it a bit more kind of uncomfortable because of how kind of chilled and relaxed it is as they do this. I think the piano parts there, rolling between major triads, there are occasional extensions there, comfortable between the different hands, are cheery and they bounce and they glow well. The organ going backwards and forwards in the stereo field occasionally through automation, but like ultimately just usually a mid-range kind of softer foils are the key parts. Is an interesting sort of resonance there. The drums there, as they develop throughout the piece there, we have that kind of climax towards the end where the person gets basically made into hands. It's an intriguing development. If I compare the start of the piece, yeah, like there's little chimey shimmery parts there that that create that overall harmony there, maybe add extensions that aren't intrinsically implied by one or two instruments. It's how the instruments come together that makes it sort of like more kind of like more sort of like colorful and interesting. The bass line underneath there, going between the triads and the root notes, they're sort of rolling around there. The drum bit there with the more minimalist approach to the cymbal grooves there, working with a 1 and 2 and 3 and 8th note piece there. So it's nice and well measured and makes sense with the rest of the elements within the mix. The studio production is commercial grade. Vocals, all the other instruments in the mix are well handled or well phrased in the frequency spectrum and the stereo field. There's no complaints about it. I just don't necessarily know. I would have liked something in the piece to have kind of alluded to kind of how messed up things were. Maybe the synth going around the side or the organ going around the side was meant to sort of illustrate the kind of thoughts going through the person's head and kind of like a bit of chaos there. But otherwise, I feel like the only thing I would have liked is more of kind of an allusion to kind of how kind of screwed up things were. It feels like it ends too cleanly, almost like it's kind of being deliberately contrarian to the subject matter. But either way, thank you to Judith for the request here for this track from an ex named Juno Mac titled Reincarnated Desires. And yeah, you kind of do need the video to get the juxtaposition, but I feel like the music is friendly on its own, but I would have a completely different experience as a non-native listener than I would as a native listener, arguably. So moving on from that, Paul7931 says this song has the same melody as Khalil Fong's song Rosie. I see. Thank you for letting me know that. Thanks for your requests so far. I'm going to be closing the queue now. And we'll do all songs that remain in it. So I'm going to close the queue on Ko-fi because I've got work in about an hour and a half. But it'll be good to go through this. I appreciate everyone putting through their picks and requests today. It's been really good to listen to your songs. I'm sorry that I haven't gone as quickly as I wanted to. I'm still kind of getting the hang of doing. Oh my goodness, so many. I'm not mad about it. There's just a lot. I'm trying to close the queue at 1:30. I like doing these requests. It's just more that it surprises me. Some days are quiet, some days are not. But we've got tracks from Shin Yi Da now. Thanks for your request. So we're going to be doing a track from Shin Yi Da now. And this is titled here we go. Message. This is titled Here we are. I'm not sure what that means, but we'll find out. Woo-bye, hanging on. Cool. So thank you, Shinida, for that. Yeah. And to be fair, it took a while for me to get into it today because of the stream shutting down and stuff, but I'll continue to work at it. It's great to have the crowd singing along, though. I appreciate that. I like how tight the vocals, guitar, and drums are. There's a kick-ass snare tone as well. And then there's also some strings and some keys in there that are quite quiet. It's great to have the focus on the keys though. It's great to have that the A and B side of that solo there, a bit more technical in a second, well voiced. I mean, the crowd is absolutely loving it, right? I mean, the crowd absolutely. It is 5:44. Sorry, guys. I just realized how long it was. We've gone over time. I apologize. It's supposed to be 5 minutes a track. I'll be more careful about that for the next one. But this was Wubai with hanging on, should I say? I assume it's about sort of like trying to hold on to something, whether it be love or a relationship or life or something like that. It doesn't sound too dire though, so I assume it isn't anything too serious. But still, it seems like they're singing about it in a way that is loving. So I assume it's something related to that. The vocal performance from Wubai is great. They show great vocal technique, very comfortable in their hidden chest voice and their range, and they handle things really. They emote effectively. Different vocal melodies for different parts there that make sense with the corporations surrounding them, and it's fairly easy to sing along to as per the entire crowd sing along to that. So I assume it's a classic. The track itself of 5:42 was quite well fleshed out. It was structured neatly. There were verses and choruses. There were instrumental parts. We had guitars, bass, drums, keys, and strings as well. I think potentially alongside a key solo or an organ solo in the later half of the song, which was quite it's quite a bit of it. But I feel like the first half of that key solo was more sort of minimalist, and it was kind of like mirroring what was happening in the vocal melodies of that hook line, was sort of going in its own direction and doing a bit of like ba 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 ba, kind of singing along in that later half there, which gave it its own sense of identity within the arrangement. The guitars for the strum parts were nice and sort of clean and easy to listen along to. Very friendly sounding. There were some interesting sort of bluesy pentatonic shifts there and occasional transfers, but like most of it was kind of like open chordal kind of stuff. The bass line sort of keeping up with the root notes of the guitars, the drums, occasional shifts away from like the main sort of eighth note groove with the kicks and snares, but we typically stayed in that place. There might have been some snare or tom bits, but typically with the eighth note grooves and pocketing. And any other part there, the keys were relatively subtle otherwise there. They might have articulated the mid to highs a little bit, but nothing to sort of take away from the vocals until that lead shift there. So ultimately a really well written track, well played, and yeah, it was solid. And the overall motif sounded kind of neutral. I didn't necessarily get a feel in any specific way there. I feel like it was just more of a safe sounding track that sounded nice in order to be able to sing over and be nice to listen to. So thank you to Shinyuda for that request from an axe named Wubai titled Hanging On. What do we have next? We have a track from Rufo, I think, if I'm not mistaken there. Thanks for your request. There we go. And Rufo today needs us to check out this song here. So this is Rufo with their song titled, what is it? So it's from Rachel Yamagata titled Be Your Love. I cannot stand when they don't just put the song title and the artist name in the same thing. I get it, it's a song, but like, there we go. Cool. I'm talking about YouTube specifically. There we go. All right, this is from Rachel Yamagata titled Be Your Love. Thank you to Rufo for this.
If I could take you away, pretend I was queen, what would you say? Would you think I unread 'Cause everybody's got the way I should feel. And everybody's talking how I can't be loved, but I wanna be loved for real. Everybody's talking how I can't be loved, but I wanna be loved for real. Want to be your everything, everything. Everything's falling and I am included in that. Oh, how I try.
Ah, great inclusion of strings here.
Be just okay. Yeah, but all I ever really wanted was a little piece of you. And everybody's talking how I can't be loved, but I wanna be loved for real. Everybody's talking how I can't be loved, but I wanna be loved for real. Everything will be alright if you just stay the night.
If you stay the night.
Please, sir, don't you walk away, don't you walk away, don't you walk away. Please, sir, don't you walk away, don't you walk away, don't you walk away.
Great dynamic range there.
And everybody's talking how I can't be loved, but I wanna be loved for real. Everybody's talking how I can't be loved, but I wanna be loved for real. Oh, everybody's talking how I can't be loved, but I wanna be loved for real. Oh, everybody's talking how I can't be loved, but I wanna be loved for real. Wanna be loved, love, 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 love. I wanna be your love, love, love.
And going into a hit voice at the end. Nice. Okay, so that was for Be Your Love from an actor named Rachel Yamagata. Now, what is this track about? I feel like it's about someone wanting to be someone else's love, and they're struggling with the idea of them walking away and not being able to sort of forge that connection, and they're showing a little bit of vulnerability there and trying to sort of express that intensity of the feelings they have for that person there. And it comes across quite effectively within the track. Rachel is a fantastic singer, really comfortable in the hidden chest voice with a really solid vocal technique. And they handle themselves across this track really neatly. There's a relative consistency to some of the expression as we go throughout. With a little bit of a flow, like the kind of like head voice is kind of higher bits near the end, we can sort of become more of a melody rather than like a storytelling device. But we voice ourselves quite effectively throughout there. There's core sort of like hook melodies there that make sense with the progressions around them. And we niche ourselves well. The great presence within the frequency spectrum. It's solid. And like, in addition to the vocals, we also have like a track which at 4 minutes 12 is quite well fleshed out there. We have peaks and troughs, variances in the intensity, of the track in regards to its dynamic range and stuff like that. Sometimes things come completely down. We rise up with the strings and piano and bass and drums in the hook sections as well. The keys forming sort of more of sort of a foundational kind of broken chordal supplement to the vocal parts, the bass riding along the root notes, with a little bit of movement occasionally, but not a massive amount there. It's just enough to kind of keep things intriguing and to sync well with the drums as well. The drums, some interesting buzz rolls and stuff like that going on there, but like predominantly it's sort of more cymbal, kick, and snare work there. And we had accordions as well, but later on there, an interlude kind of section there, and some interesting sort of like kind of staccato sort of synth parts there, which kind of are meant to sort of potentially perk us up or offer a bit of textural difference at that late stage of the track there. But it's a song where there's a lot of effort putting into the kind of like the long form legato violin work, the kind of romanticism there incurred by that. It makes it a bit more believable. And when we are sort of putting our heart in our sleeve and sort of trying to be as openly kind of transparent as we can with our approach and in terms of our expression as a singer, harmonizing with the strings like that, kind of sitting with the keys like that makes a lot of sense. And it sounds gorgeous. And the theme overall is one of hope, even if there's a bit of sadness in some of those chord progressions. The keys there sort of lean towards a more of a majorist feel there, where I suppose it kind of gives the understanding that potentially we're just happy to be in love in the first place, even if we can't necessarily be their love. The studio production, recording, mixing, and mastering is tight. Things are well balanced in the spectrum and stereo field, leveled well, neatly. Vocals are a great presence. They can just sing, so they don't need to be overproduced there or sterilized, and it's great. It's just a great time overall. It's a great time overall. So just gonna make sure I haven't missed anything. Again, I like the fade out as a final point as well. Near the end, where we do kind of fade out. Like, we have more action with the drums there. The strings rise up, and we have this kind of bigger effect there, which almost seems like the next chapter of our life has started after maybe realizing we won't be this person's love. Or maybe we do become it, I'm not sure. But either way, it's just it's cool. That was BB Your Love from Rachel Yamagata, though. Thank you to Rufo for your request there. So that was tight. And then we just got 3 more to go here. We've got Shinyi Da with another request there. So Shinyi Da, thanks for your requests. I still don't know how to do it, man. Like, I'm trying to be shorter with my conclusion sections and stuff like that. I am, hand on heart. It's just very difficult for me to perfectly summarize stuff in short form. And yeah, because I want people to get their songs reviewed timely, and I know that sometimes I do kind of ramble, but I suppose I just really have to kind of get in the zone there for the 2 hours and just kind of like stick at it and sort of be a machine about it to an extent. But this is from Shinyi Da. This is Men Envy Children with Rise and Shine there. So we'll go back to here. That is, and it's from Shinyi Da here. So add that here. Hopefully it won't make another. Good. Thank you. Thank you, Shinyi Da. Rise and Shine. It's just a learning experience, dude. Okay, interesting post-production there. Don't know if I'm not necessarily a fan of those last 2 chords. I try to do this thing a bit kind of alternative there, a bit of chromaticism there, just the way it resolves. Okay, that worked that time. Just kind of like a bait and switch, right? That drummer though, man. Absolute beast.
望见明火，沉浸疯狂，下一位轮到谁出场？世界的好手已落框，黑豹骑到大联盟上，一步步接近那荣耀。宏图在飞扬 ，rise and shine， 用力挥出这一棒，抽离的满荒树里面的梦想，已经站上这殿堂，就是现在 ，Let's get high， 用心投出这一场，面对最漫长压力下的击伤，证明自己能定义崛起的模样。
I mean, like a seamless transition to the guitar solo, to be fair. Why did we go to a blues section there?
抽离的满荒树里面的梦想，已经站上这殿堂，就是现在 ，Let's get high， 用心投出这一场，面对在漫长压力下的击伤，创造自己的辉煌。
All right, so let's talk about that. Rise and shine from many of your children. I think like fundamentally, is it about literally rising and shining and trying to make the most out of their day or something like that? Is that the kind of aesthetic we're going for here? Because if that's the case, that's cool. That's great. In terms of like the vocal performance, stunning vocal technique, really comfortable on the mic, great stage presence, very harmonized well with the rest of the elements within the arrangement. Really easily identifiable, easy to follow along to, catchy melodies within the vocal chorus and verses and stuff like that. I think it's great. I think it's really well handled. They phrase themselves well, and it's really energetic and positive and uplifting, and it has a great sort of energy around it. So the singer did incredibly well. The Shinyida says it's a song about a baseball player trying to make it into the MLB. Thank you. I appreciate that, Shinyida. That makes a lot more sense now. I can kind of get behind that. That's cool. The track itself, at 3 minutes 32, is well fleshed out. We have a mixture of different guitar, bass, drum, riffs, alongside a track that is predominantly sort of verse, chorus, sort of more sort of through contemporary structure to it, well, with a solo section as well, guitar solo section. And we have distinct progressions and ideas per part there. The guitars, I was happy with the guitars for the most part. I thought that the ideas we had for clean picked parts in the intro part, moving into the distorted guitars in the chorus was smart. That's just an easy sort of dynamic shift there. And I like the fact that we're trying to do that, because what it infers is an awareness of trying to sort of differentiate different sections within a track to make it more effective and to add more variety into a song. The chord progression, the last two chords within each take of the chorus, I think that only made sense when we had the second vocal melody, the second tail on it. I don't necessarily like how it finished on each of the first iterations of the chorus. It was just very kind of blunt with like how different we were trying to be from the established key sig, but it's still cool. Like it resolved on the second go. The lead guitar solo we had later on was pretty well fleshed out there. I like the way that things were balanced there. And like the way that we sort of shredded, and we had a lot of fast notes going through there, and it was pretty intense. We could clearly play. We decorated the mix really well. I didn't necessarily understand why we switched to that blues at the end, that kind of blues scalish kind of stuff. It was a very kind of blunt transition in my opinion. But I think it was just more sort of to try and sort of make a kind of a quirky kind of way back down to that key sig. Maybe we're trying to sort of like do something a bit trickier, but either way, it was cool. We phrased ourselves well in the lead. It was a nice foil for the main vocalist. The bass player was keeping well in time with the guitar lines and sort of reinforced the root notes. The drummer had a great technique, very tight on the 16th note hi-hat grooves with the kicks and snares, and there were some interesting fill transitions throughout the track as well. Sort of, again, core chops per part there that made them more distinct and very tight rhythmically. The rest of the band could kind of sing along with that really neatly. And there was also some kind of synth stuff. Maybe it was a guitar tone or something else near the end, which was kind of quirky. But overall, it was I can understand what was going on for the most part, and it made a lot of sense. The overall theme itself kind of more sort of inferred to me a sense of how to describe it. That we had hope and optimism and positivity, and even if there's a little bit of darkness occasionally, we were going to come out of it and things were going to be okay. That's what I got for the major minor chords within that, the lack of complexity with the extensions and the harmony there, the upbeat kind of nature of the overall performance there, the speed of it, the intensity, the pace of it, that's what I got from it in general. And the studio recording, mixing, mastering, the production of it was really adequately handled there. Things sounded nice and well balanced within a free spectrum stereo field, with the vocals being level with the guitar, bass, and drums. There was dynamic range to it, not same loudness all the time, but it was still nice and loud without pumping, because the bus compression and limiting was handled. And the singer could just sing. So thank you, Shinyuda, for that request of this track from an act named Men Envy Children, titled Rise and Shine. That was a really well-written piece. I mean, I didn't like all of it, but I liked the vast majority of it. And I think that they were just trying to do something different. And I think it's important to be able to try and respect and appreciate that. We've got your last request for today, Shinyuda. This next one here from... I'm not sure. We're going to depal it, see if we can figure out what's going on here. But this is Nobody Cares About What You Think About. Okay, we are going to listen to this one and see if we can figure this guy out. Who is it by? The official music video. Really raw tone to the drums, guitars, and all that. Interesting bubbling on the sides. The twinkles of the synths though are kind of pretty. It's great to have a synth solo in the middle there. You don't usually get it that early in, but it's a great switch up. So that was sort of disorienting at the end with the kind of squealy stuff, but I appreciate the effort put into this. So again, like I'm not quite sure how to approach this. If I try and separate these, what does this kind of like? Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to sort of translate this. This is what this is coming out as, and I know what you mean. No one cares what you care about. It's an interesting song. I thought the vocal style is great. They're comfortable in their range. They harmonize neatly over top of the arrangement. They suit the kind of raw tone of the guitars, bass, and drums and synths because they are not trying to sort of like saturate the vocals or sort of like make it kind of pristine perfect. It's not that it's sung incorrectly or poorly or anything like that. It just seems like they're really sort of like trying to sort of they're kind of like there's not like a whole lot of reverb or anything on the vocals there. It's just a very kind of like organic performance, and it sounds like they just wanted to speak their truth and kind of have their moment, and they did that. The guitar parts with the gritty kind of overdrive or distortion there, they're a bit clashy, but like they still have a sense of smoothness with the dominant seventh chords and other progressions we have there. And there's a lot of sweetness from those synths, especially in that solo section there, that I think kind of measures out some of the grittier textures within the composition. But I think it's fantastic because you have that foil, that awareness of the contrast that's provided or required between the guitar and the synth in order to create a kind of sort of textural equilibrium. The bass line underneath keeping things moving forward, with the drums at a quarter note pace there, exploring the kick snares and cymbal patterns there. With some interesting sort of floor tom and snare parts as well there. Like we have space as well where there aren't instruments all the time. I just appreciated the structure of this track in regards to how the guitar, bass, drums, and synths were utilized alongside the vocals to make the most of that 3 minutes and make a track that's sort of enrapturing throughout. Shinyida says the lyrics are along the lines of, I hope the world falls apart because no one cares about what you care about. It's a feeling that life is meaningless. So it's almost a little bit nihilistic, if I'm not mistaken, Shinyida. And I think that's an interesting thing to create a track about. I kind of adore that. It is somewhat unique, and it's done in a way here where it's groovy to listen along to. So even if you're not a massive fan of talking about such kind of stuff, it's still kind of, it's sort of enthralling, and it kind of it makes you want to kind of dance along to the nihilism, if that makes sense. Thank you for providing this. The way it was shot from a cinematic perspective makes sense in regards to the theme. It's very dark and dreary, and we sound exasperated with our vocal performance. I think that was what I was sort of going through before with the performance, the style of expression we had vocally. The theme does kind of sound like it's just kind of low-key, kind of grungy, just kind of getting through a day-to-day basis there, a bit punk. The studio recording, mixing, and mastering is tight. It doesn't oversaturate. It doesn't polish the performance, try to make it pristine. It captures the essence of the instruments involved. It levels them neatly, and the music surrounds you in the headphones, and there's dynamic range. It's not the same loudness all the time. And the vocalist sang the way that you could hear their tone, and it was well measured. It respected the wishes of the musicians and creatives involved, and I like that a lot. Thank you, Shinyida, though, for that request to this track. About the world falling apart because no one cares what you care about. Oh, I hope the world falls apart because no one cares about what you care about. It's a brutal, kind of sad thing to discuss, but I feel like it's something that this band is very passionate about, and they communicated that well. And they provided an interesting, sort of complicated, diverse arrangement to put that behind it. Didn't overstay its welcome. Yeah, that was from Shinyida. Thank you very much for that. The final track today is from Dinner Hay. And what does Dinner Hay have for us today? The last one for today. We have a song from Charlie XCX titled Club Classics. So let's do it. Going off on a bang, I suppose. There we are. Let's do it. Club Classics. Thank you, Danae.
When I go to the club, I wanna hear those club classics. Club classics, club classics. When I go to the club, I wanna hear those club classics. Club classics, club classics. When I go to the club, I wanna hear those club classics.
The kind of vinyl warp on that is kind of dope.
blinded by the lights.
And it's just a dance beat. Pop is ever evolving. It's just great to have a drop as well with other vocals to appreciate the music production behind it. So that was a request of, that was Charlie XX titled Club Classics. If I go back to the start, you have that kind of 8th or chord note groove. Actually, there's 16ths in there. There's like it's like a prelude to the chord note groove you're going to have throughout a lot of this track. But what is the track itself specifically about? First off, I think it's about Charlie XX just wanting to be able to enjoy the music they like at the club. I want to dance themselves, and they just want to sort of enjoy that experience there. It's about the club aesthetic, the nightclub thing, which I think is kind of go. I think it's great that people are making music like this. It's not like this is the first time there's been tracks that have been club classics, right? But it's just making a song about club classics is kind of meta. But I think that it's something that Charlie XX is exploring, and that's great. The story is pretty easy to understand. They're just talking about their experience with that, what they want to do. Pretty accessible. Sure, a lot of people will be able to relate to when they go to the club and dance and stuff like that, unless you don't want to, in which case that's totally fine too. Can't go to club right now listening to this instead. Exactly, yeah. It's a fun song. Charlie XX, like there's some clean vocal parts there where we sing. There's also kind of some rapped parts, some spoken parts. It's very sort of like straightforward and easy to kind of comprehend and figure out. And it's like they're talking to you, and it's very kind of almost fourth wall a little bit. Yep, we handled the vocals well. Nothing too elaborate going on here, but enough to kind of make it catchy and easy. It's more of a rhythmical kind of thing, where like the rhythm of it associated with the synths and the bass and everything like that come through, and you kind of get lost in the music in part because of that. The vocals become more of a rhythmic device, almost sort of like a percussive thing alongside, again, the drums. There are a few high points instrumentally for me. Like structurally, it's a track where it's almost sort of through composed. We have a similar motif through a lot of it. It's just that different synths come in. There's a sort of trippy, warpy kind of synth layer pad at the start there, which kind of melds and molds and goes through different triads. You then have that kind of weird kind of synth part going besides the sides of the stereo field, which makes this song more impactful, I suppose, arguably because you're working with what are you working with? In part because you're working with it's like the stereo. Like if you wear headphones, you get more of an intense experience with this, I think, because you can actually feel the music writhing around the headphones, etc., which is kind of wild. Or if you're in a car, I suppose I would have done a car test on this as well to make sure it works. But yeah, the vocals over top of the club beat with the bass being kind of full-bodied and stuff, and without the composition being too sort of like wild with the different chord progressions and changes of bass lines and stuff like that. You have a piece where it's, again, got that one motif, and you go on that adventure through it, and you pop off at the end. You understand they want to party and go to the club, enjoy it, listen to them, and you just enjoy, you have fun with it. It's a fun track. You don't need to overthink it. the way the overall vibe is that of a club. You can kind of imagine listening to music like this within a club, and it kind of gets you hyped for it as well. And they made a song they wanted to make, and that's basically the theme, is sort of more showing different sides of it. And like some of the other tracks I've heard from Charlie XX, that's a similar sort of idea. The studio recording, mixing, mastering is tight. Again, really great exploration of the stereo field with the different synth patterns, the wop, 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 wop kind of stuff going on there. But it's also just that the vocals are really well leveled there. We're not trying to make it a certain way. We're just letting them sing or speak into the mic. There's bits of filtering and reverb with some of the sung sections to help sort of like niche them in the frequency spectrum, but nothing's overproduced. The bass, drums, and everything like that come through really neatly. And there's dynamic range to this. It isn't the same loudness the entire time. It's nice and loud though without pumping. Well, that pumps a little bit, to be fair, because of the genre and stuff like that, but it's not too much. It's still nice and loud. Still nice and loud, and that's basically my feelings on it. I really like Charlie XCX's music. It's very different than what I'm used to, especially with a lot of more recent pop music, but I like the fact we're trying to take it in a different direction. I think that's part of why they have been so successful with this album. They've just been trying to do something different, something more kind of bring back a little bit of the old stuff, what's going somewhere new, and I enjoy that a lot. So thank you to Blue Dinner Box with Dinner Hay for putting this forward. And thank you to all of you for coming along to this quite long $5 song requests. I need to work on making these faster. But to be fair, we did add our first request 20 minutes in. So we roughly we did 12 tracks today, which is about 10 minutes. I'll try to get better at going quicker with it though. But I also want to still give due diligence to be able to review stuff properly for people. It's just finding a balance. But thank you to Superfly Lee, Jacob Good, Rufo, Aqua24, Jaden, lots of different people, Paul7931, Judith, and Shinyi Da for your picks today, as well as Dinner Hay. Hopefully you guys got the reviews you wanted from this. I can never really tell if I do a good job, but then I suppose the Occam's razor of that is that if people are wanting me to review music, it must be because I'm doing all right. Hopefully, you guys, you have a fantastic day today, whether it's a day or an evening. Please remember to go show your musicians and tracks some artists and love via the various social medias and the YouTube page. Stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists. Some love via their various some love at this point in time. Go show your local musicians and artists some love at this point in time, as they need all the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next live stream, probably in a couple of days at the moment. Judith says 12 tracks, album-like length. Exactly. I'll still work on getting it more efficient, but we did get through 12 tracks today. It was an album of your requests, and it was a pleasure to listen through them. And I'll catch you on the next live stream. Spiderhands out. 3,